Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Discovery, Season 2, Episode 3, Point of Light. So I've talked about before, like the first two episodes of Season 2, radically different direction, lots of like humor, dialogue, stuff like that. It was pretty good. Episode 3, we're back to being in Discovery. So, I don't know, the writers did something that was impressive. They listened to the fans and they tried to change the things that they changed before, like they broke canon, and so they're like, okay, we'll fix it. But they did too much at one time, and it's actually distracting rather than fixing. So we got that going on, and then like just the whole storyline of Tilly coming out a little bit. Like there's a lot going on here, and to be honest, like none of it to me is particularly interesting. Like from the very beginning, like just the opening scene where Tilly is clearly hallucinating and she runs through May, and like, I don't know, like as she's running this marathon, she runs through her, she stops, she breathes, she talks, she yells, and then she takes off like a bat out of hell, and she wins the race. And even Michael's like, not only did you win, you beat your personal best. No, I don't care if she was in first to begin with. That much time, she's not going to recover that much. Like, that kind of bothered me a little bit. I love that Amanda came on board. I don't know. Amanda has been in the series so little. Like, as a franchise, Amanda has been in it so little. But she's still one of my favorite characters for some reason. Like, I always think she's interesting. Just this human woman that married a Vulcan ambassador. Like, I really like it. From here, the Klingons make their new appearance, and it's just, oh god, it's bad. It's so bad. Where I complained in the first season where the Klingon ships were just, like, weird, and they were all over the place, because I'm used to the Bird of Prey and the Battle Cruiser, and that's it. Like, that's canon, those two ships. And they go out of their way. They're like, here's our new Klingon D7 battle cruiser. So, like, there's no emblems, there's no 24 houses, it's just Klingon. And sure enough, it's the big green ship, and you're like, oh, okay, well, no, they're, like, it legit looks like they took a step backwards. Just like at the end of Season 1, where you see Discovery parked next to Enterprise, and they're like, it's the most advanced ship in the fleet. And you're like, dude, the Enterprise looks like a Tonka truck compared to Discovery. Like, what are you doing? So, and it's the thing, like, the D7 is supposed to be super advanced, and it's brand new. Compared to the ships we've already seen, like, it looks just awful. But I still prefer that over anything we've seen so far. The Klingons also now have hair and beards and mustaches. I don't know how fast Klingon hair grows, but I feel like the war just ended a few months ago, and they got, like, massive hair going on. So I was like, oh, that was one of my complaints during Season 1. Why are they all bald, conehead looking? Well, now they're covered in hair like Klingons are supposed to be. So you fixed it, but it's weird looking. So you've already kind of missed that jump. Let's see, Pike's talking to one of the other captains, and he's like, Pike, only you and my grandma still use screens to communicate. And he's like, well, give your grandma my phone number. I mean, it's a funny line. It makes sense. I've complained about it. Jamie, who comments on my reviews, mentioned it. Like, why does Discovery already have the holographic communication? Like, it was brand new in Deep Space Nine. Like, this is 200 years beforehand. And evidently, after this, like, Kirk and Picard and Sisko and everybody else goes along and follows the Pike and Grandma train and only communicates through screens. So I don't know if they're going to have a way to fix that, or if that was it. Like, oh, it's old school. Well, evidently every other captain we've seen in the series is also old school, so whatever. We find out Spock is wanted for murder for 3 of his doctors. Clearly not true, set up for the whole arc of the season, but it's an interesting thing. Like, why is he getting set up? Spock has known about the Red Angel since he was a child. That right away, okay, time travel is involved. Like, is it the Red Angel that's time traveling? Is it Spock that's time traveling? Obviously, it's the Red Angel, but, like, why is there time travel going on? Tyler and Michael even are talking through their holograms, which is weird. And Michael even says, like, oh, since it's post-war, the Klingons are growing their hair out. So you're telling me the entire race of Klingons were shaving their heads because they were at war? Well, they were shaved even before the war started. So, nope, that was a nice try. You almost got me. Doesn't work. When let's see, Tilly's doing her training with Pike, and May is like, there's a different captain. He's blonder and whiter. And it's like, okay, well, there's only like one blonde guy in the series, so clearly she's talking about Stamets. Why? Don't know. And then when Tilly quits, it's like, okay, so all sorts of stuff going on. Why didn't she just say, like, I need to go to sick bay? Instead, she tries to be strong. Laurel and Vok have a son, which is interesting. Let's see, we learned that Michael had an interaction with Spock and she hurt him to keep his distance. Like, Amanda has always like been, embrace your humanity. And evidently Michael hurt him to stay more Vulcan. So Michael's pissed, or Amanda is pissed and just leaves the ship. So it's like, oh, like she gets I understand, like it's her son, like her biological son, but still, like she freaks out where she's like, you hurt my baby. Lady, this was like 20 years ago and she hurt his feelings. And Michael even said, like, I tried to fix it, but it didn't work. So I don't know. Amanda just blowing up didn't make sense to me. But I don't have kids, so maybe it makes sense. Tilly telling Michael about the whole situation with May. And I liked that scene just because, like, I like to think I have an analytical mind, and the way Michael analyzes the same thing was actually really interesting. Like, it was a little obvious, but it was really interesting. Where May is like, why are your eyes leaking? And then she leaves, and Michael's like, what teenage girl doesn't know what crying is? So she's not a hallucination, and she's not a ghost of the May who died, because if she was a ghost, she would know what crying is, and if she was a hallucination, she would be from Tilly's consciousness, and Tilly obviously knows what crying is, so she's neither one of those things. She has to be real, and she has to be like an organism living inside her. So it was a really interesting scene to watch her break it down, and she's like, you don't need a doctor, you need Stamets. Well, I don't like Stamets, but whatever. So we go there. The whole Laurel and Tyler fight scene, I mean, it was cool. It was Klingons killing shit, but it was so drawn out. And then Georgiou makes her reappearance. Again, I don't like Georgiou. Like, Empress Georgiou, like, I think she's a badass, and I think she's interesting in that aspect. I don't want her as a regular. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Section 31 TV show coming out in a few months, because I don't know if she's going to be like the main character or not, because I really don't like her. Like, she's an unlikable character, but she's a villain. Like, she's supposed to be an unlikable character. So, I don't know. She just kind of bothers me. We confirm that May thinks Stamets is captain because he's the one that has been going through the network, and so destroying evidently May's home. When he rips out the spore, it's like this giant fungus out of Tilly, and it's like, oh, well, that was inside of her, so we get it now. And then, of course, Laurel, when she's like, oh, when Georgiou asks her, she's like, are you willing to kill Tyler or Vok? And she, like, pulls out the knife. And then when we see, like, her grab Vok's head, like, nobody believes this. This is clearly a setup. And boom, of course, like, Tyler is now in Section 31, taking his, like, albino baby to a monastery. Again, this is not the first time we've seen albino Klingons. Vok himself was an albino. But it's just kind of an interesting story. And I think the monastery was the one that Worf goes to in Next Generation? Maybe Deep Space Nine, one of those? Next Generation. Where he finds Kahless. So, anyway, like, I don't know. It's an interesting storyline, but there is so much stuff going on in this episode with, like, Tilly and her fungus. And that doesn't sound right. Georgiou and Tyler and the baby and Section 31 making its appearance, like all sorts of shit going on. I don't know. I feel like it was too much for me. So for those who have seen it, what did you guys think about it? What do you think about all of these different storylines and Spock getting thrown in there? This is clearly the episode to set up the rest of the season. Like, the last episodes were like, hey, there's red dots in space. That's cool. This is the one, like, here's all of our storylines. Pick which one you want to follow for the next 10 episodes. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys next time for an Obol for Shenron.